The leaders of the coalition took the decision that we'll not only look for existing platforms and identify one that is suitable for all of us to go under one roof, but we'll also explore the possibility of registering a brand new party. Many of the leaders believe that registering a brand new party is the least risky of the propositions. Because
do you believe that?
I think so. I think a brand new party doesn't have any legacy problems or any viruses injected, because what the government, the ruling party and the government have been doing is to create problems in the opposition parties by recruiting and financing viruses to multiply. This is what is happening in the Labour Party, the PDP, and even the NNPP. So many of the leaders expressed concern that perhaps the best way to avoid this, you are dealing with a mischievous government and party that is totally immoral. They will do anything to eliminate all opposition, is to register a brand new party. And the Constitution and the Electoral Act are very, very clear about the qualifications for registering a new party. Many of us do not believe that under the current leadership of INEC, a new party will be registered, because Dr. Mahmoud Yakubu is not Jega, and President Tinubu is not Jonathan. Okay, those were the people in charge when the APC was registered, and many were pessimistic about the prospects of registering a new party. But we said, let's try it anyway. Let's show that, you know, INEC is not independent. Right. Let's show that this government is interfering to ensure there is no opposition. So we're pursuing both paths. Right. And if both become available, then the leadership will then sit down and consult and take their views to the plenary, and a decision will be taken. Right.
But some would argue that that's not an entirely fair assessment to INEC, because INEC, from what I understand, has many new applications for parties.
They have over 100 applications.
That are ahead of the ADA.
Yeah.
So it might take a very long time for INEC to get to the ADA, and it might look a bit partial if the Commission skipped the other ones in favor of registering the ADA right away.
Look, it is not a queuing system. The way these things should work is that any party that is registered will get assigned a set of officers. The requirements in the Constitution that have been repeatedly upheld in the Supreme Court are very simple. They are very easy to meet. So, you know, you don't need the entire INEC to queue 100 applications and say, oh, we'll finish A before we come to Z. You assign teams, and look, we've project managed things like that. You can do this in no time if you want to do it. Of course, they will give those excuses, but we don't believe it. We don't believe that. And when the timelines in the Electoral Act and the Constitution are very clear. There are a number of days that INEC must respond and say, this is the defect in your application. Otherwise, the Constitution says, you know, you are deemed to have been registered. So INEC is treading on a very narrow path here. It has an opportunity to show its independence, and it should prove its skeptics wrong. But there are opposing views. But the coalition decided that will be pursued, and that's why you saw the application.
Right.
And in that
it's a collective decision.
It was a collective decision,
right? Because what we are hearing is, I mean, to the public, it looks like there are sort of divisions within this opposition coalition about what the best way forward is. That these are not, I mean, you know, because you're not talking about parties coming together like we saw.
It's not a merger.
You're talking about sort of.
We're looking for one platform to all go into.
Right.
No. A decision was taken, okay, to set up committees to engage with existing platforms, as well as another committee to get all the efforts. Already in the coalition, there are about 3 groups that have made attempts to register their own party. Okay, so we said, look, come together, harmonize, and come up with one name, one party, one logo, one constitution, and they came. At the last meeting, we were briefed on the name and the symbol and so on, and that team was given the go-ahead to proceed with the registration. Some leaders in the coalition prefer a new party, as I said, while some feel that, you know, we should just go into an existing party and start organizing, because the main battle begins when we have a platform.
Sure.
This is all preliminary.
That implies that your presence in the SDP is very temporary then. I mean, that you're going to leave the SDP, assuming the ADA gets registered.
When I joined the SDP, I made it clear in my statement that even though I'm in the SDP, just like every other, I mean, Atiku Abubakar is still in the PDP, Peter Obi has not officially left Labour Party, but we all agreed that if we have consensus on a platform, we are going to give up our own legacy parties and focus on that platform. We are still not there yet. The leadership will receive a report on the engagement with the SDP as well as the other party, and then a decision will be taken. I strongly believe that the SDP is the best platform for the coalition. It has a history, it has a legacy, it has a sentimental value, and everything about it is almost perfect. The name, the logo, everything. It has a history, and I'm advocating for that amongst my colleagues. But it will be a collective decision.
Right. And if that collective decision is made, you will be happy to leave the SDP and join the ADA.
I will do whatever I can to ensure that we unite under one platform.
Right. So whatever happens, just to be clear, whatever happens with your considerable political firepower, and let's be honest, you have quite a bit of it, the impetus for you will lie with whatever party the collective consensus decides is going to be the vehicle.
Yes, I believe in that very strongly. I believe that unity, look, Nigerians are tired of the APC. We know that, we have polled that. There is 91% disapproval of this administration across the country. 91% disapproval. It's the worst in Nigeria's history. But Nigerians are looking for a credible option. Yeah, but they want to see people coming together, putting aside their differences and ambitions, and giving them an alternative to this failure of a government.
Well, that's the key thing. Can you put aside your personal ambitions?
You've got
yourself, you've got Atiku Abubakar, you've got P. Toby, you've got Rotimi Amechi, you have so many big political wigs with huge, ambitions.
Big names does not equate ambitions, okay? You've mentioned my name. I have no ambition, okay? I just feel that having contributed to bringing about this tragedy to Nigeria by contributing to the emergence of Bola Tinubu as president, I should contribute in my last lap, okay? Because I'm 65, I should be retiring. In my last lap, let me contribute towards removing this evil that I believe will destroy Nigeria if left unchecked.
Right, but the problem, of course, is that the PDP, Labour, the SDP, in their own right as already functioning political parties that make up part of the opposition, are not officially part of this new party, the ADA.
No.
And is there likely to be rivalry between them, or at the very least a rather complicated relationship? Because for you to really pose a challenge to President Tinubu, you need to be united.
Yes. But you see, the mistake that most people make is that they think that what we are trying to do is similar to what we did in 2013 with the APC. It is not. Parties are not involved in this discussion. Okay? The opposition groups are led by individuals. Okay? Vice President Atiku Abubakar has a group of people from PDP, some are not, some are even from APC. There is a group led by the trio of Rauf Aregbesola, Emeka Nwajiba, and Abubakar Malemi, former Buhari ministers, and this group has membership across all parties. Peter Obi has his group from Labour Party as well as the PDP and so on. But it is the leaders of these groups that are in the discussion. We are not bringing parties together. We are not engaged in a merger. I am part of the leadership, but I'm not there representing SDP. I'm there as an individual with some political weight, no matter how small, in my state or in the Northwest. Okay, so this is how all the groups, how the coalition is formed. It has nothing to do with parties. But we all agreed that if we're able to come to a consensus about a political party to go into, we will leave our parties and join with all our followers. That is the understanding.
Sure, of course, the political party consensus is the first step, isn't it? The second step is who's going to actually be the presidential candidate of the party.
First you need a party. Every party has its constitution and rules. It is the rules of the party that will determine how the primaries will be carried out, how the congresses will be carried out, that will lead to the emergence of party leadership as well as candidates for the election. That is a second or third step. We are not even talking about that. This is why I feel quite empowered and encouraged by the attitude of the leadership, because nobody is talking about his aspiration.
So they're all checking each other out, though.
Well, I'm sure they would. I mean, we are politicians. We are students. So yes, they will do that. But nobody is talking about, I want to be the president, or, leave this for me, and so on. Everybody is saying, we have a problem. This country is targeted for destruction by a collection of urban bandits. Let's come together, send them back home, and put this country back on track. Well, it is about fixing the country. Nobody is talking about this ambition. And that has been very good so far, and I'm encouraged.
Right. Well, I'm going to come back to that issue in a moment of you. In other words, I'm going to try and get your current argument against the Tinubu administration and your former party, the APC. But I'll ask you a question that has been going around in media circles and which my colleagues on the morning show posed earlier today. And that is why it is that whenever a southerner is there, that's when this issue of coalition comes up. When President Jonathan was in office, that was when coalition came up with the APC, and now Tinubu is in office and it's come up again. What are your thoughts on that?
I never thought about that. I don't care about that. The reason why the Jonathan coalition came up was as a result of two developments. First, the feeling that Jonathan was not governing the country very well, okay? Second, Jonathan made a commitment not to run in 2015. So he had problems even within his own party. The third, okay, was simply we realized, those of us in small parties, opposition parties at the time, CPC, ANPP, ACN, we realized that unless we came together, okay, step by step, election cycle after election cycle, the PDP will be destroying us in bits and pieces. So it was an act of self-preservation in the first instance for the political parties. That's why three major political parties decided we must come together, okay? The second, of course, was the feeling that, Jonathan was doing a bad job, let's get him out. I don't think it has anything to do with North or South.
But you supported President Buhari in 2019.
Yes.
And for many people, he simply didn't deliver.
Yes.
I mean, you supported Tinubu in 2023, and
yes,
now you're saying he's not delivering.
Yes.
So how can we trust that the person you supported in 2027 can deliver?
You don't have to. Don't trust what I say. It looks like I'm not very good at picking successful presidents, so don't trust me if I say vote for Charles Aniagolu. Look at your situation, look at yourself, and ask yourself whether the person that I'm campaigning for or the person that I'm supporting to be president will be better than what you have now. Life, human affairs, life is all about relativity. You have to ask yourself, will this man do a better job? When we supported Bola Ahmed Tinubu for president, we were under the mistaken impression that he will be better.
I was going to ask you about that, because I wanted to get into why you supported him so totally, because I remember interviewing you during that period. I mean, there was, many people would say that there was never anything about him that really inspired people to believe that he could really change this country dramatically. He didn't take part in any debates that brought some new insight. He wasn't particularly charismatic, and many people didn't see anything in his DNA that made him particularly stand out. Was there something about him that you detected that separated him from the pack as far as you were concerned and made you support him so totally in 2023?
Okay, so let me respond to that in two steps, okay? Because, it's very easy for non-politicians to analyze this thing as one continuing narrative. But actually, the way the thought process works is this, okay? And this is how it worked in 2022. For us, as Northern APC governors, the first concern we had was after 8 years of Buhari, power should go to the South. We believed that there was such an understanding in our party. We were part of the formation of the party, and we felt that that was an honorable thing that must be upheld. So that was the first step. So we didn't start by saying we want A or B to be president. We just said, look, power should go to the South. That was the first step. The second step is, now that power has gone to the South, who do we support that we think will have a chance of winning? Okay? Because you want your party to win. You want to be the party in power. And lots of calculations went into that. And Bola Tinubu became the beneficiary of that. But we didn't start with supporting a candidate. No. And I want to say that it was the support of the governors of the Northwest, Northeast, and North Central that was decisive in deciding the outcome of the primaries as well as the election. Of course, Bola Tinubu's puppeteers are now denying that. They are saying all kinds of things, and they will learn their lesson in 2027. Okay, but this is how it started. Now, for me personally, because you asked me, Bola Tinubu was never someone I was close to, even in the party, because in the party I was a Buhari boy. Bola has his boys, Buhari had his boys. We are Buharists. No apologies. So Bola Tinubu never really liked me. We never really got along. The person that I got along with was Baba Akande, and I was his deputy national secretary. We were among the first leaders of the party. As far as I was concerned, once Bola Tinubu got the ticket of the party, it was my duty as a party man to do my best to deliver him in Kaduna, and wherever I see that there is a potential problem that I can solve to ensure his election, I will do that. Is he perfect? No. Some people said Bola Tinubu is not his name. Nobody knows his birth date for sure. Nobody knows who his parents are for sure. There are all kinds of questions.
And that didn't bother you at the time?
It did bother me because I know my name, I know my parents, I know my birth date, I know I have classmates, okay, and there are no questions about whether I graduated from Ahmad Bello University or not, okay. All those questions were there about about Tinubu. But for me, the question was, he was governor of Lagos, yes? How did he govern Lagos? He governed Lagos in a very inclusive manner. He had an Igbo guy as a commissioner. He had another Hausa man from Daura as one of his special advisors. In Lagos, in 1999, that was almost unique. He ran an inclusive government. After winning the elections with the Agberos and all that, he went and got the Cardosos, Wale Eduns, Yemi Osinbanjos from the private sector to come and help him run the government. So he did a decent job in governing Lagos. That's the only thing we know about him as far as governing is concerned. You know, Charles, every saint has a past. Every sinner has a future, okay? The way I look at it is, well, look, he did a decent job in Lagos. Lagos has improved. You can't deny that. He laid a foundation. Many people have issues about how he held on to Lagos and so on and so forth. But the place is improving. If he can do half of that on a pan-Nigeria level, this country will move forward. So I said, look, he's the candidate of the party. I will support him. I will do everything to ensure he wins. So that's my explanation.
Right.
Now, fast forward.
He's failed you.
Fast forward.
As you said.
He has. Look, the one thing I was almost confident President Tinubu would do would be to have a competent team, solid people. Look at his cabinet. It's a joke. The largest cabinet in Nigeria's history. Maybe there are 5 ministers that can be called ministers in the time I was minister, which was 20 years prior. Okay. Who is the Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala in that cabinet? Who is the Obi Ezekwesili? You know, there is just no quality. As I said, apart from about 5%.
You could ask the same question, yeah. Who is the Nasir El-Rufai?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to go to that level.
Well, the reason I bring that up is that a lot of people will be saying that you're saying these things because you didn't make it into the cabinet when you expected to do so. And I'm wondering if that, what some interpreted as a slap in the face for you, is what is motivating you. And whether, let me just make this point, whether or not there could be, because I mean, he dropped you, which after all the effort you made on his behalf. And I'm wondering whether there could be an even bigger political price to pay for you for going for the president's political jugular this time, because when you supported him, he cast you aside, and now this time you're opposing him. Could there be a bigger political price to pay for you?
There may be. I don't care. That's me, okay? Now, let's go back to that. You know, Charles, anytime I wake up and I see the Tinubu government inflicting more pain on Nigerians and just bungling governance, the simplest things in governance that I knew when I was DG of BP, these guys can't even get it together. Whenever I see that, I thank God, because I think God saved me. I'm a very lucky person. I think God saved me from the embarrassment of having to explain to be part of this disaster, okay? So I've never thought twice about it. I never sought to be minister. I was minister 20 years before. That's nothing. Tinubu begged me.
And to your credit, you did a superb job as Minister of Abuja.
Thank you very much.
Everybody would agree to
Thank you very much, okay? My record is there, all right? So Tinubu begged me publicly. The videos are there to serve in his cabinet. He requested me to change my personal life plans. Okay, so those that I say is because he dropped me. How can I be unhappy about something that I never sought, it was actually an imposition on me? I had to change my plans. I had to put my PhD on hold. I had to do many things because of his request. So it has not happened. It has not happened. I'm grateful to God that it has not happened, because I don't have to explain to Nigerians why electricity is this way, the economy is going this way, the exchange rate is going that way, and so on. I don't have to explain that.
Right. But what is your sense of what the wider public mood is? Because I mean, you've said that, you know, he's treated the Nigerian people very badly in terms of his policies. I mean, what is your sense of what the wider public mood is? Because it is fair to say that many people may not like Mr. Tinubu, but many of them are undecided and are not necessarily convinced that people like you or Atiku or Obi or Kwankwaso are a better alternative.
Well, we have to ask the people to make up their minds. Do you like what is happening? This is just 2 years, okay? If you're happy with what is happening, if your life has got better since President Tinubu was sworn in on May 29, 2023, fine. But if not, why not give some other people a chance?
Well, the reason I ask that is because, I mean, I'm wondering whether you've carried out any sort of scientific poll to actually determine how popular he is. Because
no,
I remember in 2023,
yes, we have,
when you were sitting where you're sitting now, and I interviewed you,
yes,
and I quoted the polls to you that suggested that Mr. Tinubu was only marginally popular,
yes,
and you disputed that.
Yes.
But in the end, he could only manage less than a third of the vote, or around a third,
yes,
while the two leading opposition candidates got collectively 2/3 of the vote.
True. Throughout the polling before the 2023 election, we knew that the election was going to be tight, very tight. But we were ahead. We knew we were going to be tight. We have done some polling, and I have mentioned some time ago that in many parts of the country, particularly in the southeast and the north, President Tinubu even in Lagos, he has 78% disapproval rating. Okay, in some states,
and that's a scientific poll.
It's a scientific poll,
right.
and in some states in the southwest, he's doing a bit better. Ondo, Ekiti, he's doing better than 78% disapproval rating, but there is nowhere he's doing better than 50%. Even in the southwest, the guy is gone. He's performed miserably. The economy has tanked. The security architecture has failed. There are no clear trade, industrial, and investment policies. Everything is going wrong. They are raising lots of revenues, but we don't know where the revenues are going because there are no results.
Well, they say they're giving a lot of that money to the states. And let's face it, development, you were a governor before.
The states
are responsible for development.
They are not responsible for all development.
Not all
states are responsible for education, healthcare, and so on. Key, but major infrastructure, electricity, our rail system, our aviation system, the telecom system, is all under exclusively federal so far. So yes, the states are getting more money in Naira terms, but my question is, where are the results? President Tinubu went to Kaduna last week to commission projects. 90% of all the projects he commissioned were the project that I did and took to 90% plus. Okay, no new projects have been initiated and commissioned in 2 years by this administration, even though they have had much more money. So the question is, and I gave the example of Kaduna only because I'm from the state and I know it pretty well and I get a lot of data about what is going on there, but the story is the same in most states of Nigeria. Some governors are trying hard, but frankly, most of them are not doing much with those resources. And the federal oversight is very weak because the president wants all the governors to be in APC.
But they would make the argument that he's only been in office for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, is it fair to assess him based on 2 years?
Of course, it is fair to assess him. He has assessed others based on 1 year. He has assessed others in the past. You see, the beauty of the 21st century is there is an audit trail of what you have said or done. When Jonathan was president and Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu tweets then, as far as security is concerned, the buck stops at the president's desk. You bring that out to him and show him when he tries to say, oh, governor, go and fix your security problem. No, the governor cannot fix security problems because defense, police, security is exclusively federal. As governors, we were chief security officers only in name. Okay, so don't outsource security to the states. Fix it. Hire more boots on the ground, equip them, retool them, and so on. And Charles, for the last 12 months or up to 18 months, every month, 100 billion naira is deducted from the federation account and sent to the security agencies. Why is there no improvement? In 2024, over 2.2 million Nigerians were abducted. 615,000 were killed. Is Nigeria at war? These numbers are worse than the 8 years of Buhari. In 1 year. This is data from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. So it's government data. I'm not quoting something out of the air. So for that 100 billion that goes out every month from Federation account without appropriation by So the entire deduction and expenditure is unconstitutional. It's an impeachable offense, but it has been going on for more than 15 months from the last time I checked. So where has that 1.5 trillion gone? What is it being used for? Why is the security situation just getting worse? Why is the government asking communities to protect themselves? No new projects have been initiated and commissioned in 2 years by this administration, even though they have had much more money. So the question is, and I gave the example of Kaduna only because I'm from the state and I know it pretty well and I get a lot of data about what is going on there, but the story is the same in most states of Nigeria. Some governors are trying hard, but frankly, most of them are not doing much with those resources. And the federal oversight is very weak because the president wants all the governors to be in APC.
But they would make the argument that he's only been in office for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, is it fair to assess him based on 2 years?
Of course, it is fair to assess him. He has assessed others based on 1 year. He has assessed others in the past. You see, the beauty of the 21st century is there is an audit trail of what you have said or done. When Jonathan was president and Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu tweets then, as far as security is concerned, the buck stops at the president's desk. You bring that out to him and show him when he tries to say, oh, you know, governor, go and fix your security problem. No, the governor cannot fix security problems because defense, police, security is exclusively federal. As governors, we were chief security officers only in name. Okay, so don't outsource security to the states. Fix it. Hire more boots on the ground. Equip them, retool them, and so on. And you know, Charles, for the last 12 months or up to 18 months, every month, 100 billion naira is deducted from the federation account and sent to the security agencies. Why is there no improvement? In 2024, over 2.2 million Nigerians were abducted. 615,000 were killed. Is Nigeria at war? These numbers are worse than the 8 years of Buhari. In 1 year. This is data from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. So it's government data. I'm not quoting something out of the air. So for that 100 billion that goes out every month from federation account, without appropriation by the National Assembly, by the way, without appropriation by the state assemblies, because part of the money belongs to the states. So each state assembly is supposed to appropriate that part. So the entire deduction and expenditure is unconstitutional. It's an impeachable offense, but it has been going on for more than 15 months from the last time I checked. So where has that 1.5 trillion gone? What is it being used for? Why is the security situation just getting worse? Why is the government asking communities to protect themselves? You know, look, well, President Tinubu's government has failed woefully. Look, beyond, if you asked me in 2022 or 2023 when we were campaigning that things will ever be this bad, I would say that you are mentally ill.
Very briefly, because we're almost out of time. Your political career is now coming out of hold again, because you took a bit of a break after you left the governorship of Kaduna State.
Yes.
But let me ask you again, what position are you aiming to run for in 2027?
I have not made any decision about what position to run for. For me.
But you're thinking about it?
Frankly, yeah, I'm thinking about it. We are discussing with many people, even in the coalition we discussed that. But I have not made any firm decision. For me, priority number one, okay, is to get a person that will improve the quality of governance in Nigeria. If the quality of governance in Nigeria is improved, I will thrive. I will do well, okay? I have an address, I have a profession, I have capabilities. I don't need to be in politics, I don't need to be in public service to thrive. So first order of business is to have a country that is well run, where the resources are applied, where people have a great opportunity to realize their potential. So for me, that's number one, okay? That person also should be able to defeat President Tinubu, because President Tinubu is determined to make this election look as if it is settled. It is not. They are giving the impression through defections and so on as if, you know, this is it is not. We know, okay? It is not. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I have looked at the numbers, I've looked at the trends of elections. President Tinubu has no pathway to win. He cannot win. In fact, you'd be lucky if he is third. Okay?
On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's been
El-Rufai don't scatter ground again. El-Rufai don't open Tinubu voyage. He calls it evil, that Tinubu's evil. He contributed to the emergence of Tinubu's government to make sure Tinubu wins the election has been sworn in. But little did they know that Tinubu was not going to do well, that it was going to cause more problems than the problems the country were facing at that time. Now they also decided to come together and remove him, because they come together before to put Tinubu there, to make it easier for him to rig the election and everything, because they still believe in him at that time. Now all of them, they fell out. Like, hey, this is not what we want. There is problem. Now it caused Tinubu administration evil, this evil administration. So they need to get rid of this. They need to make sure that they stop him now before it becomes too late. So they don't want that. Anyways, we are going to see hear more later. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. No worry. Anyways, what do you think about this? I know some people will have issues. No worry, this and this and that. Election. Tinubu have written the result. My brother, that is what they don't write already. They will cancel now. Not be person right now. Person will write another one. I see so much belief Tinubu will not win the election 2027. Do you understand? So El-Rufai repeated the same thing he said before, that there is no pathway for them or for Tinubu to win this election. Do you understand? Even they said they are going through a lot now. Their party said it's not even in a good. Their party says their house is not in order. Do you understand? So what do you think? Please share this video and please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe for more so that you get to see updates like this. Do you understand? Please share.